Have you ever sat in a meeting, looked around the room and thought, everyone here is so much smarter than me. They're going to figure out I don't belong here. Or maybe you just got promoted, landed a new job, or received a compliment. And instead of feeling proud, you felt a knot in your stomach, a quiet whisper saying, you got lucky. You don't actually deserve this. If that sounds familiar, you're not broken. You're in very good company. What you're experiencing has a name: Imposter Syndrome. Welcome to the Health Sketchpad. I am Dr. A.B. Today we unpack exactly what it is, why it happens, who it affects, and what you can do about it. Imposter syndrome is a psychological pattern where a person doubts their own accomplishments and has a persistent, irrational fear of being exposed as a fraud, even when there is clear evidence of their competence and success. The term was coined in 1978 by psychologists Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes. They first observed it in high-achieving women, but research confirms it affects people of all genders, ages, and backgrounds. Here's what makes it tricky. People with imposter syndrome often are successful. They are competent, but they can't internalize that success. They attribute it to luck, timing, or fooling the people around them. Think of it like this. Imagine filling a jar with your achievements, but there's a hole in the bottom. No matter how much you pour in, the jar never feels full. That hole? That's imposter syndrome. Psychologist Valerie Young identified 5 distinct types of imposters. Let's walk through each one. Type 1, the perfectionist, sets impossibly high standards. Even when they achieve 95% of a goal, they focus on the 5% they missed. Mistakes feel catastrophic. Type 2, the superhero, feels they must work harder than everyone else to prove they belong. They pile on responsibilities and burn out easily. Type 3, the natural genius, believes that if they have to work hard at something, it means they lack natural talent. Struggle feels like personal failure. Type 4, the soloist, believes asking for help is weakness. They must figure everything out alone. Type 5, the expert, feels they need to know everything before calling themselves qualified. They constantly seek more certifications and training, never feeling ready enough. Do you recognize yourself in any of these? Most people identify with more than one, and that's completely normal. You might think imposter syndrome only affects anxious or self-doubting people, but here's what research actually shows. Studies suggest that up to 70% of people experience imposter syndrome at some point in their lives. 70%. It affects students entering university, seasoned executives, artists, doctors, scientists, athletes, and entrepreneurs. Some of the most accomplished people in history have spoken openly about it. It also disproportionately affects people from marginalized communities, first-generation professionals, women in male-dominated fields, and anyone who feels like the only one in a room. When you don't see people who look like you in positions of authority, it's harder to believe you belong there too. What's actually happening in the brain when imposter syndrome kicks in? There are 5 overlapping psychological mechanisms. First, attributional bias. When good things happen, we credit external factors, luck, timing, other people. When bad things happen, we blame ourselves. This means our successes never feel truly ours. Second, the Dunning-Kruger effect in reverse. The more you know, the more you realize how much you don't know, and the more inadequate you feel. True competence comes with humility, and that humility can spiral into self-doubt. Third, social comparison. We compare our internal world, our doubts, fears, rough drafts, to other people's external presentation, their polished work, confident demeanor. It's an unfair comparison. Social media has made it so much worse. Fourth, early experiences. How we were raised, the messages we received about achievement, whether we were praised for effort or only for results, all shape how we internalize success. Fifth, identity and belonging. When you belong to a historically excluded group, there's added pressure, a sense that you must prove you deserve to be there, not just for yourself, but for your entire community. How does imposter syndrome actually show up day to day? You downplay your accomplishments, deflecting with, "Oh, it was nothing," or "I just got lucky." You procrastinate, not because you're lazy, but because the fear of failing feels overwhelming. Better not to start than to start and be found out. You over-prepare, spending 3 times longer than necessary on a task, rehearsing conversations, checking your work 5 times. You self-sabotage, holding back from applying for promotions, raising your hand in meetings, or sharing your work because you're convinced you're not ready. You struggle to accept positive feedback. When someone compliments you, you internally dismiss it. They're just being kind. They don't really mean it. You feel constant anxiety about being found out. A performance review, a new client, a presentation, these feel like exposure events, not opportunities. One of the most important things to understand is that imposter syndrome is self-perpetuating. It runs in a cycle, and that cycle keeps it alive. Step 1. A new challenge arrives, a presentation, a project, a new role. Step 2. Anxiety kicks in. You feel like you're not ready, not capable. Step 3. You either over-prepare, working twice as hard as necessary, or you procrastinate, avoiding the task. Step 4. You succeed. The presentation goes well. Step 5, but you don't credit yourself. If you over-prepared, "I only succeeded because I worked so hard." If you procrastinated, "I just got lucky." Either way, your imposter identity is reinforced. Step 6, the next task arrives, and the cycle begins again, with the anxiety intact. This is why imposter syndrome doesn't just go away on its own. Success doesn't cure it. You have to interrupt the cycle. Now, what can you actually do about imposter syndrome? Strategy 1. Name it. When that familiar voice says, "You don't belong here," pause and label it. This is imposter syndrome talking. Simply naming the experience creates psychological distance from it. Strategy 2. Collect your evidence. Create a brag file. Every time you receive positive feedback or achieve a goal, write it down. When imposter syndrome strikes, you have concrete evidence to counter it. Facts, not feelings. Strategy 3. Reframe struggle. Learning is supposed to be hard. Struggling doesn't mean you're incapable. It means you're growing. Replace "I can't do this" with "I can't do this yet." Strategy 4. Talk about it. Imposter syndrome thrives in silence. When you open up to a trusted colleague or mentor, 2 things happen. You feel less alone, and you often discover they feel the same way. Strategy 5. Separate feelings from facts. Feeling like a fraud doesn't make you one. Ask yourself, what is the evidence for this belief, and what is the evidence against it? This CBT technique helps short-circuit irrational thinking. Strategy 6. Drop the perfectionism. Nobody has it all figured out. The standard isn't perfection, it's showing up, doing the work, and learning as you go. Strategy 7. Mentor someone else. Helping someone who is where you used to be forces you to recognize what you do know. It externalizes your competence in a way that's very hard to deny. Before we wrap up, I want to speak directly to anyone who carries an extra layer of this burden. If you are a first-generation professional, someone navigating a path without a roadmap, your uncertainty is not weakness. It is wisdom earned from terrain your predecessors didn't have to map. If you belong to a group that has historically been excluded, whether by race, gender, disability, or any other dimension, the self-doubt you feel is not a character flaw. It is the internalized weight of systems that were not built with you in mind. Your presence in rooms where you were once excluded is not an accident. It is a result of your capability, your resilience, and your work. You are not there to represent your entire community. You are there as yourself, one person, doing their best. That's enough. The presence of doubt does not mean the absence of belonging. You earned your place. You deserve to be here. Let's bring it all together. Imposter syndrome is a psychological pattern, not a personality flaw or a fixed truth about who you are. It affects up to 70% of people across all industries, backgrounds, and achievement levels. It operates through an internal cycle that success alone cannot break, and it can be managed through awareness, evidence, reframing, community, and self-compassion. Here's your challenge for today. Write down 3 things you have achieved that you didn't give yourself credit for. Put them somewhere you'll see them. When imposter syndrome whispers, "You don't belong," open that list and read it out loud. Because the truth is this: the fact that you care so much about doing well, the fact that you question yourself and strive to improve, that's not evidence that you're a fraud. That's evidence that you're someone who takes their work seriously. That's not a weakness, that's a strength. Thank you for watching. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. You might be saving them from a conversation they've been having alone in their head for years.